Proceedings of this meeting will be recorded and made available on the internet. We can move on to item 1.2 of our agenda, which is roll call. We've asked our clerk, Jesse Clark, to please call the roll.
Thank you. Mayor Lamstead, are you present?
I am present.
Deputy Mayor Armstrong?
Present.
Councillor Franzen?
Present.
Councillor Braybrook?
Present.
Councillor Cadigan?
Present.
For staff, we have Adele Arbor, planner,
Present.
Derek Bertram, planning technician,
Present.
and Jesse Clark, director of corporate services, clerk is present.
Okay, thank you very much. We can move on to item 1.3 of our agenda, which is land acknowledgement and moment of reflection. We respectfully acknowledge that Trent Lakes and Peterborough County are located on the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaty First Nation, which include Alderville, Beausoleil, Curve Lake, Georgina Island, Hiawatha, Rama, and Scugog Island First Nation. Trent Lakes respectfully acknowledges that the Williams Treaty First Nations are the stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. We would like to further acknowledge that the significance of yesterday being the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. We remember the children who never returned home and honor the survivors of residential schools, as well as their families and their communities. We recognize the importance of this day for reflection, learning, and a commitment to healing and reconciliation. We will now take a moment to reflect on these principles and our duties and responsibilities as members of council. Thank you very much, everyone. Okay, we can move on to item 2 of our agenda, which is disclosure of pecuniary interest. If any member of council has a pecuniary interest on an item on the agenda, please disclose it now or anytime during the meeting prior to discussing anything on the item you have an interest in. I'm seeing no hands. We can move on to item 3 of the agenda, which is the approval of the agenda as circulated and amended. Would entertain a motion. See Councillor Cadigan for a mover and Deputy Mayor Armstrong for a seconder. Any conversation? I'm seeing none. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. We can move on to item 4 of our agenda, which is the adoption of the minutes. Item 4.1 is our regular council minutes of September 17th, 2024. And item 4.2 of our agenda, which is a statutory public meeting of September 17th of 2024. Entertain a motion. See Councillor Braybrook for a mover. To adopt both. Okay, thank you. And I can look for a seconder, please. See Councillor Franzen for a seconder. Any other conversation about the minutes? I'm seeing none. I will call for a vote. All in favor? That motion to adopt the minutes is carried. Okay, we can move on to item 5 of our agenda, which is committees and boards. Item 5.1 is the Environmental Advisory Committee. Item 5.2 is the Committee of Adjustment. Anyone prepared to make a motion, or I would like to discuss anything on those items? Entertain a motion. See Councillor Braybrook for a mover.
Motion to receive both.
Okay, and for a seconder, I see Councillor Cadigan. Any conversation on the items? I'm seeing none. We will call for a vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. We can move on to item 5.3 of the agenda, which is liaison reports for council boards and committees. Does anyone have anything to say about a committee or a board? I'm seeing none. We have to start talking about some stuff. We're going to go too fast through our agenda. We can move on to item 6 of our agenda, which is a statutory public meeting pursuant to the Planning Act. I would entertain a motion to suspend our regular council meeting and go into the public meeting. See Deputy Mayor Armstrong for a mover and Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. We are now in our public meeting pursuant to the Planning Act. We can move on to item 6.1 of the agenda, and I think Derek Bertram, you have a preamble first.
Thank you. And through you, Mayor Lamstead, this is a public meeting under Section 34 of the Planning Act. Consider an amendment to the municipality's comprehensive zoning bylaw B 2014-070 as amended. Notice of public meeting for today's application containing the prescribed information was circulated to all landowners within a 120-meter radius of the subject lands at least 20 days prior to this meeting, and a sign was posted on the subject lands in accordance with the Planning Act. The notice was also mailed to all prescribed agencies, public bodies, and persons in accordance with the regulations. Anyone wanting to be notified of any decisions from today's public meeting must inform either myself or the clerk, and the notice of passing will be mailed to them, setting out the method and manner in which appeals may be made to the Ontario Land Tribunal. If a person does not set in a written comment prior to the passing of the bylaw or make an oral submission at the public meeting, that person may not be entitled to make it, appeal the decision.
Okay, thank you very much, Derek Bertram, our planning technician. If you would like to proceed to introduce the file, please.
Thank you. Through you again, Mayor Lambshead. We have file 2410, a zoning bylaw amendment, which is submitted by Agent Marty Saunders of DM Wills on behalf of property owners Matthew and Joanne Rivard for the property known municipally as 148 Fire Route 320. The application was previously deferred on September 3rd due to the municipality's technical difficulties encountered from the August 29th storm, and was recirculated to all agencies, public bodies, and properties within 120 meter radius in accordance with Ontario Regulation 54506, Section 5, subsection 4A and B. The zoning bylaw amendment has been received for the purpose of expanding an existing seasonal dwelling and to recognize existing two-piece bathroom and an existing accessory structure, and to recognize an existing non-compliant water yard setbacks. A planning memorandum has been submitted by the municipality's external planner, Chris Jones, which is in support of the dwelling expansion, recognition of the non-compliant setbacks, but does not support the recognition of a two-piece bathroom in an accessory structure. At this time, any members of the public would like to make an oral submission in the physical gallery, please raise your hand now, or if there are any members in the virtual gallery, you can use the raise a hand function.
Okay, thank you very much, Derek. Okay, is there anyone in the physical gallery that would like to speak to this item? I'm seeing none. Is there any in the virtual gallery?
Marnie Saunders, I'll unmute you now.
Okay, please do. Marnie, are you there?
Good afternoon. Yes, I'm here.
Okay, thank you, Marnie. Would you like to speak to this item?
I would, thank you. Just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Marnie Saunders. I am a planner with DM Wills in Peterborough, and I'm acting as the agent on behalf of the owner for this application. I've read and reviewed staff's report. Generally agree with the recommendations. Just wanted to provide a little bit more background on the request for the amendment, the existing conditions on site, as well as possibly suggest some potential amendments to the recommendation being considered today. So the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is to allow for an expansion to the existing dwelling, which is located within the required water yard setback. The water yard setback is not being reduced any further, and in keeping with the zoning bylaw, the expansion is permitted to an existing structure. Given this structure is already being expanded once, that's why we are seeking an amendment to have it further expanded. It also, the proposed zoning bylaw amendment also requests to allow for reduced setbacks for some other accessory structures that are also already existing on the subject property. And finally, it also requests to allow for a bathroom facility within one of the accessory structures on the property as well. In reviewing staff's report, one of the main concerns or comments that we found was the use of the garage or the accessory structure. So we did go back and forth with staff in terms of how we described that building. Originally, we did describe it as a garage, which is its use or the manner in which it is being used. It doesn't have a garage door, so we did revise the wording a little bit to describe it as more of a workshop or shed-like structure. As I said, that's what the intended use of it is for. There's no intended use for human habitation in that structure, so it's not intended to be a guest cabin. There's no sleeping quarters. There's no other aspects of human habitation that are within that dwelling or within that structure, I should say, other than just the plumbing facilities to permit the bathroom. When the landowner purchased the property, and I'll just provide a little bit more background in terms of the services and the septic that is servicing the bathrooms, both within the existing dwelling and the accessory structure. So when the owner purchased the property, both of those bathrooms were existing. They weren't in great condition, so they did need to be renovated. When they did do those renovations, they upgraded the system from a holding tank to a septic system, and that was done in 2016. A permit was issued for that system in 2016 as well. They were only renovating the existing dwelling at the time. So when the septic inspector reviewed the system to determine whether or not it had the capacity, it was only looked at replacing the bathroom in the dwelling, which would be 1 bathroom and 1 bedroom at the time. However, the system can accommodate more than that, as it was obviously accommodating both the existing bathrooms, the one in the accessory structure and the one in the dwelling. So it can actually accommodate up to 3 bathrooms and bedrooms, the existing 2016 system. And in staff's report, they do mention that there was another subsequent septic permit issued in 2014. That one's not related to the existing bathrooms. That's for any future expansions or bathrooms on the property, and there's none contemplated at this time, but they've acquired that permit should they want to add any bathrooms in the future, which obviously would require additional permits and approvals. So in light of the information that we've provided here today, we ask that staff consider that in the recommendation, and considering that the wording for the site-specific zoning be revised. We have no issue with including any provisions related to prohibiting or explicitly restricting that building only be used as an accessory structure as a workshop with 1 bathroom, and that there would never be any living quarters or Airbnbs or rentals or anything like that. So we have no issue about explicitly prohibiting that in the site-specific zoning, and strictly just allowing for that toilet facility in the accessory structure. As we understand, that is one of staff's main concerns. And we just ask that council take that into consideration.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you.
Anyone on council have any comments or questions? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Armstrong.
Thank you, Mayor Larson. Thanks, Marnie. I'm a little confused. The septic system that is currently in place, and it sounds like they're planning to continue with that septic system. The original permit allowed for how many bathrooms, and what was the original permit wording?
So when it was inspected, it was inspected to accommodate just the bathroom in the dwelling, which would have been 1 bathroom, 1 bedroom. The system that was actually installed can accommodate more than that. So when they went to go then renovate the garage and upgrade that bathroom, because that also was in disrepair, they knew that the septic system could accommodate that additional bathroom, because when they did the original septic design, it was designed to accommodate actually 3 bathrooms, 3 full bathrooms, or I believe it was 2,154 square feet. That's how they kind of do their calculation on what the septic can accommodate. So it was determined then when they renovated the garage that in fact that septic system could accommodate that toilet as well.
So follow up, I'm still confused. The permit for the system that is in place right now, the permit that came from Peterborough Public Health, what did it allow that septic system to accommodate?
It only focused on the bathroom in the dwelling. So it suggested that it could accommodate 1 bathroom and 1 bedroom.
Okay, thank you.
Because there is a calculation that you use to figure that all out, like number of bathrooms, bedrooms, faucets, washer dryer. So there is a calculation to decide what size that septic tank and bed is.
Yes, that's correct. So in essence, it was when it was installed and designed, it was oversized, knowing that it could accommodate both toilets. But when the permit was applied for, it was only to permit the new bathroom in the dwelling unit, which only focused on the 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? Go ahead, Jess.
I have Matt Rivard who would also like to speak. I'll unmute you now.
Hello, Matt, are you there?
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to clarify. So I spoke with Kathleen Shepard, who used to be at PPH. I think she's just winding up now and has moved elsewhere. But she did clarify that our current system, which it was my conversation with her way back when in 2016, has a maximum square footage of 2,152 square feet. And it can accommodate 3 full bathrooms, 4 bedrooms, and then based, as you were just mentioning, based on the equation of whether you've got a washing machine or a dishwasher, which we don't have any of those things set up, it can go to a larger square footage. But certainly, at the time I was told, and have since also been reconfirmed, that we're allowed 3 full bathrooms on that current septic.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that was Deputy Mayor Armstrong's question earlier. What size of tank and bed is there? Okay, thank you for the clarification. Any other comments? Anyone have any other questions? Okay, Councilor Braver, go ahead.
I don't know if you still have Marnie.
I'm sure she is.
Yes, I'm still available.
Hi, Marnie. You mentioned that you're looking for a revision of the wording. Do you have an idea of what you would think that would look like?
So that's where the zoning is a little bit tricky. So when we originally suggested the wording, we suggested allowing for, sorry, let me back up. The wording we suggested came from section 4.2 of the zoning bylaw, which explicitly prohibits human habitation or the use of human habitation within accessory structures. So we had suggested that the site-specific wording allowed for human habitation in this one specific accessory structure, because that's the provision that also prohibits the bathroom and toilet permissions. So actually I can read it out to you if you just bear with me for a moment here.
I think where the catch is.
So section 4.2.1 speaks to permitted uses under accessory structures and buildings, where it, I believe it explicitly prohibits human habitation in the form of bathroom or cooking facilities. So that's where that wording came from. We were thinking maybe we could only permit plumbing facilities for a bathroom within an accessory structure and explicitly prohibit any other form of human habitation. So can't sleep and if they want to put in the wording like explicitly prohibit any rental use or sleeping quarters or living quarters, or because that's not the intended use. It's not intended to be a guest cabin. It's strictly just a shop that they have a bathroom in.
Okay, does that answer your question, Councilor?
Yeah, through you, Mayor. If I may ask our planner, Adele Arbor, if she has a comment as to a proposed revision of the wording.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, through Chris Jones's planning report, he identifies that it was considered more a guest cabin than an accessory structure. And there was identification in the zoning bylaw amendment application that referred it to an accessory structure. So I guess we're determining what it is. If it's a guest cabin, then it should really meet the rules and regulations of a guest cabin, as Mr. Jones has identified in the planning report.
Okay, does that answer your question?
Yeah, just one more through you.
Absolutely, yes, this is the time.
So would there be an issue with any a sort of revision to specifically state, as Marnie had said, that with it in regards to their case, could that be revised to say specifically there won't be any habitation?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, based on it being an accessory structure or garage, as Marnie has indicated, it doesn't look like a garage. There's no doors for it being used as a garage. However, they would like to use it as a workshop, and those kind of structures are not permitted in the water yard. We try to keep them out. This is an existing structure, and I believe through Mr. Jones's report, he liked to identify it as a guest cabin.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
Perfect. Any other comments or questions? I'm seeing none. Thank you very much for attending, Marnie and Matt.
I think Marnie might have one more comment.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to just elaborate on Adele's comment there. Yeah, we're really just trying to address that it is not a guest cabin. It is a garage. We know it doesn't have a garage door, but that is the manner in which that structure is being used. Again, we understand that they're typically not permitted in the water yard, but it is an existing structure, as we've discussed, and that's all. And I just wanted to thank council and staff for their time on this application. It's been a long time coming, and we're happy to see it finally come to council.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions from council? Seeing none. Thank you very much. We can move on to business. We have to have a motion to reconvene our regular council meeting. The Councillor Cadigan for a mover and Deputy Mayor Armstrong for a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. We are back into our regular council meeting. We can move on to item 7 of our agenda, which is business arising out of the statutory public meeting. Item 7.1, Derek Bertram, our planning technician. Would you like to speak to this item, please?
Of course, thank you. Through you, Mayor Lamson. There was a public meeting held for file 2410, which included a planning memorandum from the municipality's external planner. The external planner recommended the following: that council receive the report and that council direct staff to prepare a zoning bylaw amendment for council's consideration to authorize and request expansion of the dwelling and to recognize the non-compliant location of accessory buildings and to recognize the 37.6 square meter accessory building as a guest cabin, subject to the confirmation from the building department that the existing unauthorized bathroom has been removed and the building has been disconnected from the existing septic system.
Okay, thank you very much, Derek. Does there anyone have any comments or questions? Seeing none. Is anyone prepared to make a motion or amend the recommendation? See, Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would like to make the motion as it's been recommended to us, and I'll have a comment afterwards. And I think you just read the recommendations. So.
Councillor Cadigan, are you seconding the motion?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so we have a seconder. Okay, now any other conversation? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor
I
Armstrong.
just had a comment. Thank you. It's very confusing. I don't know if anybody else up here feels the same, but my understanding is that if it's a garage, it can't be within the setback from the water. So they'd have to take it down. If it's a guest cabin, it can be within a 30-meter setback, but if it's a guest cabin, it can't have plumbing facilities. And so to keep it in its location, we need to approve it as a non-compliant, approve it as a structure, but the plumbing has to be removed. So that's how I understand it, and that's why I'm supporting the motion as it's been presented.
Okay, thank you very much.
If anybody thinks
Adele?
I'm wrong, and Adele might
Go ahead.
help me out, please.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, guest cabins are also not permitted in the 30-meter water yard setback. However, in Mr. Jones's report, if you refer back to that, he indicates that that structure is more akin to a guest cabin than an accessory structure for a workshop. And he provides some clarification in his analysis regarding the two.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Go ahead, Councillor Franzen.
Just a comment. I think whatever we call it, it shouldn't have plumbing facilities within that structure.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Any other comments? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Thank you very much, Council. Okay, we can move on now to item 8 of our agenda, which is presentations. Item 8.1. Reverend Gerard, would you like to speak to this item? Community Futures Peterborough.
Is it okay to sit here?
I think over there.
Great.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks for
having me, and thanks to Deputy Mayor Armstrong for inviting me here today. I think the goal is to tell you a little bit just about who we are, what we do, and what sort of changed recently as we're seeing a different change in the economic delivery and how that's being delivered throughout Peterborough City and Peterborough County. So we are a not-for-profit. Oops, it's okay. We're a not-for-profit organization. We're funded by the federal government primarily for the Community Futures program. Similarly to Peterborough Kawartha Economic Development, we have the same boundaries as them. So our mandate is to serve both the city of Peterborough and the entire county of Peterborough as well. Our primary focus, you can go to the next slide, primarily is on loans, so loan delivery. So we were created in 1985. The federal government started creating this Community Futures program right across the nation. So in Peterborough, this was for rural and remote communities. So at that time, it was for populations under 100,000. We received $1 million with a mandate to lend that money to entrepreneurs who traditionally could not find or could not qualify for lending through the banks to help them start or to grow their business. We also have a mandate to do some business counseling and ensure that our non-loan clients are also being served by that. So I think of note right now for you all to be aware of is we've now grown that to almost 14 million in assets. So it's been a great growth story. Every dollar that we do lend out to entrepreneurs is reinvested into a loan fund. So that fund isn't used for operations. It's solely dedicated to money to go to entrepreneurs. So our primary mandate, as I spoke about, is really those flexible financing solutions. So while no organization wants to, market itself as a lender of last resort, we do tend to be a lender of last resort. We are expected to assume risk and to take on some risk and some loss. So we will bank people who are traditionally unbankable. That's not to say everyone who comes through the door is given a bank, or is given a loan rather, but we do assume more risk than banks do take as well. I report to a board of directors of 12 volunteers. So we have the opportunity myself to approve loans that I can disperse in as little as 24 hours, up to $20,000. Anything above that does go through either my loans committee, which can approve up to $150,000, or to our full board of directors for its ratification and approvals for loans up to $300,000. So this is a little bit about why I'm here. There has been 3 of us in the organization since I assumed the role of executive director and just under 2 years ago. We recently had an exciting announcement for our team, which was that we will be now delivering the Business Advisory Center program. So that's the provincially funded program. So we've now grown to a team of 5 employees with Rosalie Terry and Lindsay Irwin joining us. I feel like both are familiar entrepreneurial names to you. They're both women who run their own small businesses and have been advising or teaching entrepreneurs for just over a decade. We can go ahead from that. I spoke about the Business Advisory Center. So the Business Advisory Center is funded through the province of BC. That's the Small Business Enterprise Center program. As part of that, we do receive operational dollars through the city of Peterborough and Peterborough County. This is, as you know, Peak had traditionally held this portfolio, and it is a program to delivery of this program that is offset through municipalities and through townships. So these are the probably most familiar programs to all of you. The Starter Company Plus program, that is the grant program. As we know, grants for businesses are hard to come along with these days. So we are now have those applications open. It closes on Friday. To do, usually traditionally 2 cohorts have been done. through PCAT and delivery of this program. Of course, we just assumed these operations in late June. So we're doing one larger cohort this fall. And we're excited to see, as of this morning, we had close to 50 applicants, and we will be selecting a minimum of 20 applicants for this program. We will be launching the summer company program, which is the grant dollars for students between 15 to 29. We'll do that call for applications in the spring. And then there's also what we call our business advisory core services. So those are entrepreneurs, those looking to start, grow, or expand, who meet one-on-one with our advisors. And when I say it's been busy, it's been busy. It's been great. It's been really surprising, to be honest with you. We have an online booking system, and it's back to back for our advisors. So I do think it's important for everyone to know that there is still a lot of interest in new entrepreneurship and those looking to grow and expand their business in our community. We've put together some early thoughts and trying to anticipate trends or through some of the expertise that our advisory team has. And over the next 12 months, we're going to be launching some pretty new and exciting extensive programs. This is a little sneak peek of it here. There's a lot of focus right now on, I would say, e-commerce expansion and distribution and how to sort of get beyond, you know, selling and growing your business locally and what that looks like. So we're excited about unveiling new programs through this center. So now back to a little bit of Community Futures. So that is the name, just so you're clear, of the federal program. It's also the name of our organization. That's how we brand ourselves, as Community Futures Peterborough. But Community Futures, that national program, is that lending program for entrepreneurs, and that's funded right now through FedDev Ontario as our primary funder. So through that, I spoke a little bit before about our loans, microloans. Community Futures also has its own workshops, so both the events and advisory skills as well, which made it complementary and sort of a seamless process for us to assume operations of the Business Advisory Center. So loans up to $20,000, we've seen, I think, a little bit of an uptake in. This is for traditionally some entrepreneurs if they need inventory loans or those quick expansion loans. Like we say, we're able to turn it around pretty quickly and get cash in hand to them in a small period of time. We are allowed to lend up to $300,000. There are some clients where we partner with other Community Futures. So there are some businesses in our portfolio where we've partnered with 2 or 3 other CFs and have hit that up to $900,000. So there is that option as well. So I just think it's important for you to know that just because that's our local cap, it doesn't mean we can't look for solutions and partnering with other CFs for that. I'll talk a little bit quickly about the CF programs. This was launched this year. This was a passion project of mine called our Community Advancement Program, or our CAP program. I'm a big believer in sharpening the pencils on my home budget, and I definitely did the same, you know, when I assumed this role as well. And we were able to find close to $50,000 in operational savings. And what I've been able to do with that money is turn it into grant dollars for not-for-profits to be eligible for in our community. So each January, we will launch an annual intake and another call for applications. We have committed to that being a minimum of $50,000, and I'll do my budget forecasting in December to see if we can hopefully increase that number. But that's important for all of you to be aware of, to direct those not-for-profits for applications for a grant program through us as well. Last year, this was our first year launching it this January, and we did have over 70 applications. We also partner with Scotiabank, which is pretty exciting for a Community Futures program to attract and retain a corporate partner who traditionally people might view as a competitor. Scotiabank has given our organization now sponsorship dollars for the past couple of years to run a scale-up program. And that's really geared at training business owners through individualized one-on-one consulting and a blend of classroom sessions, but how to grow and scale their operations. So I'm a big believer in we can be an expert in lots of areas, but where we can't, let's hire experts and bring them in and ensure our business people are trained by the best of the best. Our most recent cohort, we had a fellow from Trent Lakes, Flanagan and Sons, and he was great. I think he saw a lot of value in spending time working on the business and focusing on what a growth plan can look like for his business. I was also really proud of this fund that we launched this Earth Day. So within our mandate through the federal government, we are never able to lend below prime. I have a little bit of flexibility if I can prove what's called an exceptional circumstance to lend as low as prime, and we were able to have that accepted by the federal government. So for us to approve loans and money out the door for anyone who can prove to us that their what they'll use the dollars for will decrease carbon emissions and make a change. So that is a great opportunity. I think sometimes people view our organization as having higher interest rates, which can be the case if we're taking on additional risk. But we do also have some flexibility to create some really competitive rates for businesses as well. We are excited about our changing team, Peterborough Kawartha's team, and what that looks like. We definitely have some aggressive plans, I would say, to continue to increase and grow our presence in the county and throughout townships. We'll be meeting with several of your staff over the course of the next 6 months. We've also opened up an office. We'll be sharing an office space in Peterborough County in their new Lakefield building as well, and look at ensuring that townships and others ensure they have access to us and to our team a little bit more in person than they've been able to in the past. So we're excited about where this is going and look forward to seeing how we're all working together on these different areas. I'll quickly just go through those. This was just a quick snapshot I did keep in just so you could get a sense. This was from our year-end numbers last fiscal year. So it was close to, well, it was just over 1.4 million that we did lend, but I did think it was important to point out here. This is one of the first times that for every dollar we lent out, we did have equivalent dollars of business owners investing in their business as well. So I thought this was actually a really great snapshot of entrepreneurship still being strong in our community. This was a little bit about what I did touch on. So prior to the Business Advisory Center coming under our mandate, we do have a mandate to educate and advise business clients as well. So through that, we still assisted another 121 businesses who are not loan clients of ours. So this is my whole team in its entirety then. So my Business Advisory Center team, and then I have a loan manager, Braden Clark, and a financial administrator and program coordinator, Michelle Foster. We are looking to continue to increase our role and our presence in the community and throughout the county and the city as well, and continuing to expand programs. I think that's what we're most excited about, is having some new team members and a new offering to really ensure programs we're delivering are meeting the changing needs of business owners in our area. I think that might have been it.
Thank you very much, Devin. Does anyone on the
You're
council have any questions of Devin or comments? Councillor Cadden, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Lamstead, if I may. Devin, thank you for the presentation. I'm just wondering, other than Flanagan and Sons, do you have any other examples that you could tell us about?
Yes, I won't disclose the name of our loan clients because they would be on the lending side, so they weren't public. But I did do some numbers, and we currently have 7 loan clients from Trent Lakes. I would say when I look at them, 2 of them are only startups, and the other ones were working capitals or for expansion loans. So that is a great sign for your community about businesses wanting to grow and invest.
Through you, if I may, are they service industry, or are we talking hard industry?
Or what kind, sorry?
Hard industry, like making kayaks, canoes?
So, I mean, I would say you have contractors, you have services, you have retail and tourism.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excellent. Any other comments or questions? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Armstrong.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Lambton. Thanks, Devin. As you know, I'm familiar with this program and a huge supporter. One of the things I was interested and delighted to see was your new community advancement program.
Thank you.
Is that what the A stands for?
Yeah,
Okay.
community advancement. Yeah.
I know Halliburton has had that for a while.
Yep.
It's really been influential in helping some of their nonprofit cottage associations and others with programs. So I know it's only been 1 year. Are they largely environmental, social, cultural, and do you have a particular area that you try and focus on with those?
So good question. We did just do it for our first year last year. So we do have a selection committee because it's a lot of pressure to ensure, as you can imagine, with over 70 applicants and trying to, serve as many as possible. I will say it was a diverse group of applicants who did receive the funding. We're very intentional. Everything is on our website and more details when we put the loan applications up. We're very intentional in ensuring that projects support our core mandate from FedDev, right? Which is, supporting economic development or trying to see growth in areas like tourism and those areas. We put out like a tips and trick sheets with our applications to try and make applicants as successful as possible when they do apply. But we certainly do follow guidelines because this is coming from dollars on the FedDev side. So ensuring that I'm still upholding my contribution agreement requirements there.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Go ahead, Councillor Braybrook.
Thank you, through your mayor. Thanks very much, Devin. And you've answered a lot of my questions generally. And it's specifically that you're going to be reaching out to our staff in the next 6 months or so. In your community advancement program slide, you mentioned that there were over 70 applications in 2024. How many again were from Trent Lakes?
I'm sorry, I didn't pull that number of applicants from Trent Lakes for the community advancement program. I don't recall that. Yeah.
Okay. Have you interviewed any of the businesses in Trent Lakes, the established businesses in the downtown core as part of your program?
Yeah, so good question. So when you're a client of Community Futures, we obviously work closely with you primarily when you first start your loan. That's usually when we, can apply flexible financing terms or courtesies. So our loan manager and our support are doing the 3-month and the 6-month check-ins. Past that, we move to annual reviews. So anyone who is a current loan client of ours is expected to, and we do meet with, on an annual basis to review their cash flows and sort of ensure we do have continual support from them, as well as they'll be included in all of our program offerings. So at minimum, there is an annual touch point. Most clients, as we know, it's like a banker's relationship and, do reach out to us more frequently.
Okay, thanks. Just a couple more through you.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So your CFB core operations includes events and advisory. For your 2025 calendar or plans, will Trent Lakes be a part of the potential outreach?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we have, so my staff just started the beginning of September. So we do have one staff member who is assigned, with this county outreach, which is part of this, is meeting with you. Our goal would be to work with your EDOs or economic development staff to almost bring everyone to you. So if there are businesses who do want to meet, if there's businesses who want to, meet with us plus professional advisors, trying to get a sense through EDOs if there's interest in, that startup or growth or expansion, but to make it simple, to sort of understand our offering, Team Peterborough Kawarthas and what that looks like, but also have that opportunity for one-on-one. So we do plan to have regular county and township days. We're just building all of that now for what it looks like.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments or questions? I'm seeing none. It's fantastic. And then 121 business assisted. That's a pretty amazing statistic in itself. lots of in-depth interviews. So thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Motion to receive. Thank you, Mayor Armstrong, seconded by Councillor Cadigan. Any other conversation in regards to that presentation? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. Okay, we can move on now to item 9 of our agenda, which is delegations. Item 9.1, Joanne Lundy, would you like to speak? If you would like to come and sit there, I think the microphone will pick you up better and people can hear you. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Joanne, and my husband Mark and I own the property at 36 Fire Route 54. And Mark had some work commitments, so he wasn't able to make it today. But we want to say that we love Trent Lakes and we love Sandy Lake. And in particular, we love where we are on the lake and our neighbors. And we have good relationships with them. Since we've arrived, we tried to improve our property inside and out, and as our neighbors are doing as well, and we support each other. And overall, I would say for most of us that are there, we're there to relax and have some fun. And the sauna sort of came out of that. And also for us, the sauna is for health reasons, because my husband had major shoulder surgery a few years ago. So he had a shoulder replacement, and the sauna helps him with his pain and arthritis. So I just wanted to mention that, and I wanted to thank all of you for all your time, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, we can move on to item 9.2 of our agenda, which is Claire Atkinson. Claire, would you like to speak to this item?
Yeah.
How's everybody doing?
Great, how are you?
I'm well, awesome, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. So I'm a neighbor of Joanne Lundy's, not directly, I'm actually on Sandy Lake, on Fire Route 54. There's about, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Fire Route 54 on Sandy Lake, there's about 21 properties. The majority of us are pretty sociable together. You know, we spend a lot of time in the summer relaxing in the water, and we're all aware that the Lundys are trying to improve a property, as are we. I have an open permit with the town right now. We were quite surprised when we saw the notice that popped up saying that there was a public meeting about the sauna that they're building. But for the most part, most of us just ignored it because nobody really cared that they were doing that, and it didn't really impact us. We were also quite surprised that we're back here again having another meeting to discuss this sauna, because like I said, none of us really care. We're all friends. And I have a property directly opposite the Lundys, and I don't even see the thing from my window. I've read the minutes from the last meeting. I've also read the report, I think, that Adele created recently. And I'm just here to say I support the build. I support what staff is doing. I trust that staff is abiding by the regulations, and any variances of the regulations, they're using good common sense and judgment. So I would urge council to vote in favour of the Lundys continuing the build of their sauna. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Claire. And I think we can move on now to item 9.3 of our agenda, and we have Brent Palmer, but I believe, Alex, you are going to speak?
Sure.
If you would like to come up to the table.
Sure.
And
I have a copy of what you wrote.
welcome.
Thank you for receiving me today. Okay, the following is a submission of Brent Palmer speaking to the report of council regarding the sauna. The report to council contains many references to changes in the OP, PPS, etc., that must be investigated to obtain consensus as to the acceptability of saunas in water yards, which, if passed, will allow any sauna building to be constructed anywhere in the water yard and anywhere in Trent Lakes. While identifying that this is an area never considered, it seems that the support of staff and planner to this amendment is purely out of convenience, as it is already there and constructed without anybody being aware. The previous two sauna installations were not at issue only because no neighbors objected, not because they were approved. A positive recommendation and vote today would ignore the current bylaw in place to which everyone must abide but will be irreversible should more restrictive rules come into effect at a later date. While other buildings such as sheds for watercraft storage are not allowed in the water yard, it would appear that due to its use, a building of similar construction but meant for a different use will be allowed. Both are still buildings. No one can answer why it is so close to the side lot near trees or how an electrical permit was obtained on a structure in the water yard that should have no buildings. There is also no accommodation for the safety concerns raised as to where on the lot it is situated or whether there is proof that it has met electrical standards. And the point there is that we heard from this fella who constructed it, but we can't find him online. We don't know what his accreditation is. So for him to we want some proof that this is actually passed what it is expected to pass. And finally, here's a line on the aesthetics. So the bay is a destination for kayaks and canoes because of its calm waters. The sauna is an eyesore because being so close to the water's edge, it is visible from across the lake. The entirety of support for the sauna comes from immediate neighbors who don't have to look at it out their window. Rather, the dissension is from neighbors from across the bay who will have to look at this forever. I ask that you continue to defer the acceptability of this structure until such time as proper legislation applying to saunas can be formulated by the region and approved. And I do know that Claire, as a witness, is across, but the way that the cedars are, she's not literally across. So I'm representing, it'd be about 5 or 6 of our buildings that every day we have to wake up and see this in the water yard cluttering up ever more. So there's our statement, and thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Alex, for your comments. Can I just get you to remove your hat, please? Thank you. Don't drop your pencil. I stick mine there as well. Thank you. Okay. Is there any other comments or questions from council regarding those present delegations? Go ahead.
Just through you, Mayor, just a couple of questions in the last.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, once we get to the next step, when Adele does a report, then we'll answer your question. Is that all right?
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I would entertain a motion to receive those 3 delegations. Councillor Franzen for a mover, Councillor Graybert for a seconder. Any other conversations about the delegations? I'm seeing none. I will call for a vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. Okay, we can move on to item 10 of our agenda, which is staff reports. 10.1 is public works. We have none. 10.2 is recreation facilities. We have none. 10.3 is fire and emergency services. We have none. 10.4 is building and planning. 10.4.1 is Adele Arbor, our planner. Would you like to speak to this item, please?
Thank you. And through you, Mayor Lambshead, this report identifies concern by staff regarding a recent council resolution in reference to zoning bylaw amendment file number 24-18 pertaining to a request to retain a proposed sauna in a water yard. The resolution included a deferral of the application pending an update to the comprehensive zoning bylaw. Planning staff identified at the public meeting the estimated timeline for the approval of the county OP, followed by conformity and a comprehensive review of the zoning bylaw, would probably take approximately 2 years. Past council resolutions, which included a deferral, were being deferred pending additional information from the applicant, which would be required by council in order to make an informed decision on a particular application. That type of deferral is considered appropriate. Planning staff point out that the deferral particular to zoning bylaw amendment 2418 in accordance to the Planning Act is not considered an approval or refusal of a decision, however, is more akin to failure to make a decision. The applicant, after 90 days, can appeal council's refusal or failure to make a decision on a zoning bylaw amendment application. So, should the application be appealed, the municipality would be required to retain legal representation and to seek out the services of a registered professional planner to represent council's resolution at the OLT. Based on council's resolution, it would appear by planning staff that council would like to see regulations added to the zoning bylaw specific to saunas in the water yard. This can be accomplished by a municipally initiated zoning bylaw amendment in advance of waiting for approval of the county OP and comprehensive zoning bylaw review. The report also identifies that council had previously approved 2 site-specific zoning bylaw amendments for saunas, which included a definition, size, and setbacks. Water yard setbacks were approved at 1 meter or 3 feet and 8.74 or 28 feet respectively. Each application coming through the planning department is assessed on its own planning merits. The municipally initiated zoning bylaw amendment or saunas that staff are prepared to initiate on behalf of council would include a public notice and would include a public meeting similar to other zoning bylaw amendments. And all the information would be received by council prior to council making a decision on any proposed zoning provisions or regulations. The planning report before council today also provided responses to the public input provided at the public meeting. Therefore, Mr. Mayor, it's being recommended that council receive the report from the planner regarding council resolution R 2024-370 for zoning bylaw amendment file number 2024-18, and further that council direct staff to prepare a municipally initiated zoning bylaw amendment to incorporate zoning provisions for saunas in a water yard, and further that council support the zoning bylaw amendment file 2024-18 for the property municipally known as 36 Fire Route 54 to permit the sauna in the water yard, and further that council direct staff to prepare a bylaw to be brought forward for adoption at the October 15th, 2024 council meeting for consideration. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Adele Arbor, our planner. Would anyone on council have any comments or questions? Sir Braber, go ahead.
Thank you. Through your mayor, should we vote on it first and then get a second and then comment, or should we have comments?
Well, we can have a motion.
Or if it's just questions of clarification.
Just depending on what your question. Clarification. Okay, go ahead with your question. Go ahead.
This is going to be directed to you, Adele. So bear with me. I'm just back and forth on my computer here. So just dealing with Mr. Palmer's written note. In one part of it, he states the previous 2 sauna installations were not at issue only because no neighbors objected, not because they were approved. So I go to your report and I'm just asking Adele whether that comment is in relation to the part in your report where it says in 2020 and 2021, 2 zoning bylaw amendment applications were processed to permit saunas in a water yard. And it became a resolution, which is 2020-105. Would that be referring to what Mr. Palmer was talking about? No, I don't have Mr. Palmer here, so I don't know.
I'm not sure what the question is, to be truthful.
Yeah, I think Mr. Palmer read the report and was referring to the 2. So I think he is referring to that. So I think I just answered my own question.
Okay, do you have another question?
Through deductive reasoning. So now on to the next sentence, the part where he says would ignore the current bylaw in place. Are you able to comment on that? So it starts off a positive recommendation and vote today would ignore the current bylaw in place. Do you have a comment to that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if I can make comment to maybe the first semi-question you were asking in regarding to it being no issue as no neighbor objected. Through the planning process and through our analysis, council is aware that we go to the property and we assess everything. Not only do we look at official plan policies, our provincial policies, we go on site and we look to see if there are any planning implications or impacts. And is there any way of lessening those impacts? We also take into consideration public comment. And sometimes public comment doesn't constitute any planning implications or impacts. and staff support applications or make recommendations to council, even though we may have some negative comments. So based on that line, I don't agree that because we had no objections, planning staff recommended approval to council for those applications. On your other comment was a positive recommendation would ignore the current bylaw in place to which everybody must abide. Well, currently we have no regulations in place for saunas, so anybody that has a sauna in a water yard is in violation of the zoning bylaw. We've seen a number of applications come forward, the two that we specifically described in this report. However, we do get other planning inquiries on, through the public saying, are we allowed to have a sauna in our water yard? And we'd say, no, currently you aren't allowed. We will be looking at a review of our comprehensive bylaw. That's something on our radar through other recommendations of council that they wish us to put in zoning provisions specific to saunas. We don't have anything currently. And based on council's last recommendation regarding this application, I thought there was a desire or an appetite by council to maybe proceed a little quicker than waiting for the comprehensive zoning bylaw, and that we do a municipally initiated bylaw, but it needed all of council's consensus that now planning staff are working on an amendment to bring forward to council. It's not a decision that a planner or myself can make on behalf of council. So that's why this report was being brought forward to council, and also to caution council that a deferral, there's different types of deferrals, and this one really violates any provisions in the Planning Act, and I wanted to bring that to council's attention. I hope I answered your questions.
Does that answer all the questions you were asking and the ones you were going to?
Yes. Oh, actually, through you, Mayor, just one more comment. Thanks very much, Adele. It makes it clear for me, which is saying a lot. So in your report, it states, notwithstanding this policy, a number of structures are identified which are exempt from the 30-meter setback, such as structures such as septic tanks, boathouses, docks, open decks, and stairs shall be permitted and may encroach on the 30-meter setback. And when I look at that, I look at a boathouse, and the majority of boathouses do have electrical hookups, which would be within that 30-meter setback, and they are allowed. So that sort of takes the argument out that, why would a sauna within that setback be allowed to have electrical, whereas it's allowed in boathouses and docks? And I would submit that boathouses are a much bigger footprint than a sauna. So that's one of my comments, and with that, am I able to make a motion, or is there any other
I
comment?
think if we need any more comments for clarification, now's the time. But if it's something more in depth, then we need to have a motion and a seconder, and then we can have more conversation. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Armstrong.
So I think I have one of each. One before and then one after. The one before, I appreciate it's important. We need to make a decision on the zoning bylaw amendment. That makes sense to me. And not being a builder, are there any risks? And thank you for asking about electrical hookups for boathouses, because that was really my question. Are there any concerns or risks from a safety perspective about a sauna being within the water yard because of electrical? Maybe they need plumbing. I don't know. Maybe they don't. I guess if it's a dry sauna, they don't. They just need electrical. But are there any associated risks with that? And perhaps if it gets certified ESA, then that removes or mitigates the risk. So you could just comment on that, please.
Do you want to comment, Adele, or?
Sure.
Go
Through you,
ahead.
Mr. Mayor. You heard the applicant at the public meeting identify that they had a ESA for the structure. Staff will be asking for that to be submitted to us. And some individuals may have electrical in their boathouses and some may not. It all depends whether they would like to do that. But does that make any difference with somebody who's allowed to be permitted as of right to put a gazebo in their water yard, and maybe they have some lighting in their gazebo as well, right? which we went ask for the electrical safety approval for that. And the gazebo, there's a maximum floor area of 161 square feet as of right allowed by our zoning bylaw. And it can be 3 meters or 10 feet from the high water mark. And it can also be 10 feet above grade.
Can you answer your kind of question?
I think so.
I can probably answer that better for you. If you are going to put hydro in any structure in Ontario, you have to get a permit from Ontario Hydro. Ontario Hydro comes and inspects it 1, 2, or 3 times. And then once they're done, the ESA inspector actually inspects it for those inspections. So Ontario Hydro does some of the inspections, but ESA will make sure that it's compliant wherever the building is. Doesn't matter whether it's in the water yard or not in the water yard. ESA is the governing body for those inspections. And they will give you a certificate of completion at the end of the project so that you know it's safe, it's been put in properly. And if you don't get a permit, it's a very large fine. So I think most people get permits. We know it's safe, no matter where it is.
Great. Yep, thank you. That was sort of reassurance I was looking for.
Any other comments or questions? I'm seeing none. I think Councillor Rayburg, you were prepared to make a motion.
Yes, through you, Mayor. Thank you. I'll make a motion that council receive the report and that council direct staff to prepare a municipally initiated zoning bylaw amendment to incorporate zoning provisions for saunas in a water yard. And further, that council support the zoning bylaw amendment file 2024-18 for the property municipally known as 36 Fire Route 54 to permit the sauna in the water yard. And further, that council direct staff to prepare a bylaw to be brought forward for adoption at the October 15th meeting, 2024. And that's it.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Trent, second. Any other conversation? Deputy Mayor Armstrong.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Lamson. I'm supportive of the first and the third part of that recommendation. I am not so supportive of fast tracking the sauna bylaw because there are lots of other things that have been in the queue that we want to include in our comprehensive zoning bylaw when we change it. So I just don't think we need to be fast tracking saunas over secondary sleeping quarters and garages, over lots of other things that we've talked about over time that are in the parking lot for us just waiting to do once we do a complete redo of the comprehensive zoning bylaw. So I would only support the first and the third so we can make the decision on this particular property and get the zoning bylaw amendment approved, and then roll the sauna bylaw into the overall process of redoing our comprehensive zoning bylaw. So I can't vote for it as presently stated.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Caddy, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Lamson, I would speak in favor of the saunas. I think the health benefits are widely known. I think that this is something that I can support. In my background, we had a sauna at the fire hall just to remove heavy metals after a fire. So I speak in favor of it.
Any other comments or questions? Councillor Franzen, go ahead.
Yeah, I support the sauna as well because I don't believe it has very much environmental impact on the 30-meter setback.
Councillor Brayburg, you had a question.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. It's more clarification to Deputy Mayor Armstrong and actually Adele Arbor. If she could comment on the deputy's concerns as far as the amendment. And before you answer that, my perspective on that is it that you're trying to put that into the sort of the wording, the current wording of it, bringing the sauna into that now? So sauna that will now be a part of it, boat houses and saunas and that sort of thing. So would it hurt if we did forego that one until we have more, or is it troublesome to do it one at a time? We've identified that sauna isn't mentioned in the allowables in the 30-meter setback. Is it arduous? Is it a big deal that you actually bring it an amendment to add the sauna, and then we can still deal with the overall, I guess, rebuilding of the amendment. I don't know if I'm saying it properly, but.
I think we get the gist of it.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. In, I guess, simple words, the question was, does the planning department have time to work on a municipally initiated report for sauna and look at different provisions of other municipalities' best practices and bring something forward to council? Just to let council know, we do have back from our external planning consultant information on additional dwelling units that we've been working on. So I see that coming forward very shortly to council for their consideration. And I think the sauna, even though we said a municipally initiated, it's something that's on our radar. Didn't say we're gonna have our public meeting in November, but it'll be something, if you give us direction, that we'll start working on it and bring it forward when we can to council. I don't think the workload is overly beyond our capacity in order to work on that. So I think I would be prepared to start working on that, and we'll bring you the additional dwelling units that I know council has a concern with and like to see that come forward sooner than later, which is in the works. And if it gives any comfort to council, perhaps before staff bring forward the zoning bylaw amendment for this particular property in the sauna, instead of saying October 15th, which we'd like to bring forward to, but maybe we could say subject to the municipality receiving receipt of the electrical safety approval, and then we can bring forward the report. If council would like to add that, I see that it seems to be a concern of council.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Thanks, Adele. I don't see any issue with Deputy Mayor Armstrong's suggestion or approach. In the event, if we were to excise that part out of the motion, and we happen to have another case such as this, that we would deal with it as we're dealing with it today. So I agree with Deputy Mayor Armstrong's suggestion. So I would offer an amendment to the motion if there isn't any other questions.
I think you're going to run into this more often than not. As you drive around this municipality, which I've been on many of the 400 and some odd fire routes in this municipality, and there is a lot of saunas in the water yard. We've asked people to move them out of the water yard. I mean, it's been expensive and problematic, and it's happened and had to happen. But I think a sauna in your water yard is the only place to have a sauna. You don't want a sauna in your backyard and run around your cottage to get to the lake. So I think it's important that we move forward with something to get a zoning bylaw amendment, because this is going to keep coming up to us. And I think if we're supportive of doing something, we should move on it now. I think staff has a little more time sometimes in the next few months in the planning area. But so if we're going to move on it at all, now's the time. That's just my comment. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Armstrong.
Yeah. Just a final comment on it. Just to be clear, I'm supporting the bylaw amendment to be approved today. But I just don't like the idea of these piecemeal one-off kinds of changes, because if we look at what's allowed in the water yard and what's not, maybe there are other things we should be considering at the same time. So we pluck saunas in, but should we really looking at boathouses? Do we really want gazebos? I mean, I think it deserves a broader look at what we allow in the water yard. I agree with you on saunas. Yeah, that's where they should be. But if we're opening up the bylaw to look at what should be allowed in the 30-meter setback, then I think we do that, and we don't do it just one-off for saunas. So that's why I took that position. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? So we have a motion and we have a seconder with the amendment.
No, so through you, Mayor, I'm going to keep the motion as is.
Okay.
As I mentioned. We'll vote on that.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? I'm seeing none. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay, thank you very much. We can move on to item 10.5 of the agenda, which is finance. And 10.5.1 is Donna Taggart, our CAO treasurer. Would you like to speak to this item, please?
Yes, thank you, and through you. Accounts payable is before you for the month of August, just for your information.
Any comments or questions for Donna? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Armstrong.
Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, Donna, you know, I have this question. On page 197 of our agenda, where it is on your report, there's an entry for Curry Truck Center, which is a deposit of $256,000. And for you, $535.30, because I know you like the exact number. And I wondered what that was. It's a large amount. It stuck out. So I just wanted to be clear on what that was for.
Right. So thank you, and through you. So that is to replace a tandem truck that was in the 2024 budget. And we often pay for a portion of that truck for the cab and chassis, for instance, halfway through the process, and it allows us to get a discount if we do that. So there was a discount of over $4,600 from paying a portion of that. So that is typical, and it was in the budget for 2024.
Excellent. I appreciate that. Cost of a truck is the cost of a house these days.
Okay,
Whoa.
any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I just want one comment. It's nice to see that we're down to $166,000 in checks. Getting everything electronic. Great job. Thank you. Okay. Any other comments? I'm seeing none. We'll ask for a motion. Councillor Franzen, motion to receive. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. Any other conversation? I'm seeing none. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. Thank you very much, Donna Taggart. We can move on now to item 10.6 of our agenda, which is administration. We have none. We can move on to 10.7 of our agenda, which is corporate services, and 10.7.1. Jesse Clark, our clerk, and many other jobs. Would you like to speak to this item, please?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Lambshead. Before council is the council expenses for the month of September for council's approval.
Okay. Any conversation? Anyone prepared to make a motion? I may some year get one in. Go ahead, Councillor Cadigan.
Pay,
Okay.
receive and pay.
Do I have a seconder for that motion? To approve and pay? See Councillor Braybert for a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. Thank you very much, Jesse Clark. We can move on to item 10.7.2 of our agenda, which is Jesse Clark, our Director of Corporate Services Clerk. Would you like to speak to this item, please?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Lambshead, staff with the assistance from all departments prepared a list of all municipally owned land for the purpose of providing a general commentary on the potential suitability of the properties for possible future sale in response to council direction from April 20th, 2021. For each property, the existing use, official plan designation, zoning, lot size, assessment, and other notable details were recorded and used in developing a sale potential for each property. The report details each of these sale potential values. While the recommendation from staff is to receive the report for information, staff have provided 3 options for consideration. If proceeding with any of these options, council should consider the opportunities and impacts, costs and benefits, and any consultation with the public. Briefly, the options for council's consideration are 1, investigate the sale of properties with a sale potential of 6, being small or irregular parcels. Option 2, investigate the sale of properties with a sale potential of 6, as well as properties with a sale potential of 4 and 5, being properties with no or limited known constraints. And option 3, establish a working group to determine appropriate properties to sell. An additional option, which can be added to any of the 3 options previously outlined, would be to further consider the Deer Bay Hall property for disposal as previously contemplated by council.
Okay, thank you very much, Jesse Clark. Anyone on council have any comments or questions? Councillor Braybert, go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Just a comment. I just want to thank our clerk and staff for the amount of work that they put into this. I know it was a lot of work, and really appreciate it. When we see the distilled version, it's not a few pages. There's a lot more work that goes into that. So thank you very much for that.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Okay, Councillor Franzen, you had a comment?
Yeah, but through you, Mayor. I'd like to concur with Councillor Braybrook's comments. I noticed how much work it is to get all that put together. I just am very reluctant in selling any property. I feel they're assets, and I like to keep assets.
Okay, thank you for your comments, Councillor Franklin. Anyone else have any comments or questions? Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mayor Lamson. Ditto in terms of the amount of work that went into this. It's very helpful because it pinpoints what the opportunities are for council. And when you boil it all down, we've got at most 16 properties that could be considered for sale. And of those, many of them are less than an acre. And I would suggest that the amount of work and money that goes into selling a piece of property that's less than an acre is probably not even worth it. So we're down to even a smaller subset, and I didn't count that, but I could have. So I guess I would like to make the motion that we support reviewing those that are categorized 4, 5, and 6 for potential sale, but with an eye to reward return in terms of how much money. It's really cost benefit, what cost we have to invest in order to sell it versus what benefit the municipality would get from the sale price. And I think that will narrow the number of properties down considerably from 16, and then that can be brought back to council.
Is that a staff job? I think that sounds to me like you're putting that back in staff's hands.
Well, I think that's what option 2 is.
Okay. Yeah.
Is it not? That we
Yep.
direct staff
Yeah,
to
exactly.
investigate the sale of properties with 4, 5, and 6 and bring back a recommendation to council. Is that not?
Yeah, that is option 2. There's a couple other options there you could explore if we chose to. Councillor Franzen, you have a comment?
I support that motion.
Okay, we have
I'll second it.
that was a.
That was a motion.
Okay, and that's a second.
Proceed with option 2.
Any further conversation? Councillor Catton, go ahead.
I would like to see Deer Bay Hall included in that.
Okay.
If they're willing to make that amendment.
You
That's
wanna
fine,
Make
yeah,
that a friendly amendment? Okay.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. Amendment to
Councillor
that motion.
Branson, are you supportive of that?
I'm not supportive of selling it, but I have no problem looking at it again.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, no, that's a future conversation. Let's keep your mind open. Councillor Braber, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Just a question to Councillor Cadigan. I think the option 2, I think we know most about Deer Bay Hall. And I think in one of the previous council meetings, I think we're still waiting for a report back.
Yes, we are.
As far as what the renovation costs would be. And then I think we should keep that as a separate entity for now until we resolve that, till that comes back, and then we make a decision on that. That's just my.
We do have a report due back from staff on that hall, exactly like you said. I think it'd be a wise idea to wait for that report and then do whatever we want with that piece of property. It doesn't have to be included in this list.
Okay.
Okay, so
Then withdraw the amendment.
amendment was withdrawn. Okay, so the original amendment to support 4, 5, and 6. Any other conversation? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to all the work that's went into that. And my apologies for keeping asking, when are we getting this? When are we getting this? My apologies for my determination. So we can move on to item 11 of our agenda, which is correspondence for information. Item 11.1, or we can do them both together, or we can speak up on each one individually if you choose. Go ahead.
I'd like to break them out separately.
Okay, sure. We'll go ahead on item 11.1.
I'd like to comment on that. I think I'd either ask Adele to do that, or I can read what she's written on page 178. But I'd like for you to address this letter that's been received by the county in terms of their official plan.
Go ahead, Adele.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, my understanding is the ministry is asking the county to forget the draft official plan that we all agreed on, repeal it and start again, doing another draft to include all the changes that have taken place. My understanding, and I haven't talked to county staff maybe in 2 weeks now, my understanding is that they were going to have conversations with the ministry staff to see if anything could be done, not to repeal it, to leave it stand, but let's make the amendments to reflect the province's changes on the provincial planning statement and any other kind of provincial policy, and let's just update it with those. And the county staff will be working with the other lower tier municipalities in order to make those changes happen, to make sure that we're all in agreement, because it's all our document, right? So there will be involvement by municipal staff here at Trent Lakes.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Armstrong.
And if I can, thank you very much, Adele. You said it much better than I could have. The only thing I would add is the fear is that if we were forced to go through a repeal process and a resubmission process, we might very well be back into public consultation and start the process all over again. And I think it was a 5-year process to get to where we were in 2022. For us now in 2024 to have to go back and redo a lot of that work is just frightening.
Any other comments? Okay, I have a comment there. We, as a few mayors of the County of Peterborough, meet with MPP Smith twice a month. This is an ongoing topic. We bring this up every single meeting, if myself or Mayor Senes or Mayor Watson. And the conversation that we had with MPP Smith last week was that, or 2 weeks ago, was that his conversation with the minister said that that's not what he intended. And then immediately we get this letter that says that's what they intend. So he is down there very diligently trying to clarify that. Their intention originally was not to have this recirculated, not to canceled or whatever that word was, I forgot that, but to move ahead. We can change it, make minor amendments, and then not go back to public consultation. Then it can be adopted as long as it matches the provincial planning statement. There should be no more 4 or 5 year process, and he is working very diligent to make sure that that letter comes to county. We're hoping that that happens. Everyone's got their fingers crossed, but he was shocked at seeing the letter. We presented the letter to him in our meeting, and he was absolutely shocked at that letter. He just finished having the conversation that wasn't happening. So let's see how this turns out. We'll keep everyone posted.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Did you make that a motion?
Motion to receive?
We received both at the same time?
No, I want to talk about.
You can still talk about them then.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we're
So
gonna try to
make
have a motion
first? No. Okay, so
Go ahead, we can move on to item 11.2 of our agenda.
I think I'm following process here. 11.2, I just wanted to point out that we owe our treasurer a vote of congratulations for being one of 21 municipalities in the entire province who has received the Financial Information Return Award, which I think is an incredibly notable accomplishment. And yeah.
For you and your staff.
Thank you.
You and your staff. Thank you.
Thank you. And yes, it's through you. It's definitely a team effort. That's for sure. So thank you.
Very nice to be recognized for the good things that you guys are doing. So thank you. Okay, now I will entertain a motion.
Motion to receive both items under correspondence for information.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? And seconder is Councilor Cadigan for a seconder. Any other conversation about these items? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. If we can move on to item 12 of our agenda, which is correspondence for action. Item 12.1 is Town of Tilsonburg. Would anyone like to speak to that item? Go ahead, Councilor Franzen.
Motion to receive.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? Deputy Mayor Armstrong for a seconder. Any conversation? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. We can move on to item 13 of our agenda, which is bylaws. We have none. Item 14 is business arising at a previous meeting. Does anyone have any business arising out of a previous meeting? Seeing none, we can, and item 15 is notices of motion. Does anyone have a notice of motion? Seeing none, we can move on to item 16 of our agenda, which is information items. Anyone have any information items? I see Councillor Franzen first.
Okay, a turkey supper in Galway Hall, November 2nd, from 5 to 7. Adults, $25, children 6 to 12, $15, children under 5 free, and there is a takeout option.
Is that a Saturday?
Yes, Saturday, November
Yes,
2nd.
perfect. Thank you.
And I'll ask staff if we can put it on their website.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Franzen. Hey, Councillor Cadigan, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, through you, Mayor Lamshead. This is almost arising from a previous meeting, but I bring it up under general information because there's still conversation in the community regarding traffic on 507 and specifically dangerous traffic and lack of enforcement. A number of people have reported incidents within the past week. So I bring it up again to try to get the county to act quicker. I know that there's a safety audit going on right now, and that information has been put out in the world, but people are asking me to act.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the comments. We have definitely got the members of our advisory committee for the road safety audit on County Road 507, the first 8.4 kilometers, I think it is. We have had our first meeting, and now we're trying to do a doodle pool to have an actual physical on the road, take pictures, identify issues, and get back to the committee with them. So we're moving forward slowly, but I don't know if there's anything we can do. We can ask the county if that's a decision of council to maybe put that sign back up in a different location. I mean, they only work for a short period of time. People get used to them, and then people like to see the red face. My apology. It's entirely, okay, Councillor Cadigan.
The communication that I'm getting is people feel there's a lack of enforcement. And I've witnessed it myself on one of the worst corners, having 3 motorcycles pass me coming into the corner and a police cruiser coming the other way and expecting him to turn around and chase them. But I guess they don't do that anymore. So
You can't catch them, but, you know. But we can, what we'll do is I personally will make a comment to our commander of OPP, see if they have any ideas what they can do. And I think we can go through your board as well, right?
thank you.
So,
Just a comment.
Sure, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Councillor Cadigan, we had our first Peterborough County Police Services Board meeting yesterday. I'm losing the days. And I did have another conversation with our detachment commander, and that came up because we were discussing the road safety audit and whatnot. And I've asked them just to show the colors, and do some enforcement, pointed enforcement as best they can. If it is motorcycles, they won't even attempt to, because you can't pursue really if they're, and you wouldn't be able to, just in my experience. It's
one comment there though, in front of my relative, one of my relatives' place, they did pull over a motorcycle and were successful at getting the stops. I don't know whatever happened, but that's here nor there. It's just, there was one successful stop.
Yeah,
And one injured.
Yeah, it all depends on the honesty of the rider, right?
That's
So,
right.
and the problem ones,
Well, thank you for bringing that to our attention, Councillor Cadigan. We will try to get to that to your committee and to the detachment commanders. I know we have a problem there. It seems to be ongoing, so we need to get it solved. Okay, any other information items? Go ahead, Councillor Graber.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. Just a reminder, Sunday, October 20th at Lakehurst Hall, doors open at 2:30 p.m. It's the Festival of Small Halls. It's the second year, and it's a program that's all over Ontario, and they have some fantastic acts highlighting the small halls and all some of the smaller municipalities around Ontario. And it's the Barra McNeil's group that's going to be playing there. So you can get your tickets online. You just go to Ontario Festival of Small Halls. Last year was fantastic, and we're looking forward to it this year as well. Thank you.
That's October 20th.
Sunday, October 20th. Doors open at 2:30.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Franz, go ahead.
There's only an online component to that.
Yes.
I guess I won't be going on.
Well, I could always take care of
If you needed some, we could certainly facilitate. I shouldn't, that would be staff, not me. Correct, Jesse? Okay. Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Lamson. This is passed, but I just wanted to congratulate the Greater Harvey Historical Society, who had their AGM on the 20th, and a really excellent talk by Guy Scott about the history of this area and the Irish settlers who came over and settled in this area. They are in the process of changing their name officially to the Trent Lakes Historical Society. That's all.
Yeah, I think that's quite an appropriate change. I think they're excited about that change, and I am too. I think that more reflects their position in our community. So it's great. Okay, any other information items? Seeing none, we can move on to item 17, our agenda, which is closed meeting. I would need a motion to go into closed. Deputy Mayor Armstrong for a mover. And I need a seconder, Councillor Gadigan for a seconder. So 17.1 is Ontario Municipal Act, section 2.239.2, to discuss B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, municipal employees. Item D, which is labor relations or employee negotiations, municipal employees. Item E, litigation or potential litigation. Do we really need to read it? Okay. Including matter before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, zoning compliance. We'll call for the vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. We are in closed. Okay, we can move on to 17.2 of our agenda, which is rise from closed meeting. I would entertain a motion for same. Councillor Cadigan for a mover. Councillor Franzen for a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. We are back in our regular council meeting. Item 18 is business arising from a previous closed meeting. We have 18.1 is the adoption of the minutes from that meeting. Deputy Mayor Armstrong, Councillor Franzen for a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. We can move on to item 19 of our agenda, which is adoption of the confirming bylaw. 19.1 is the confirming bylaw. Right, Councillor Cadigan for a mover. And Deputy Mayor Armstrong for a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. We can move on to item 20 of the agenda, which is adjournment. Entertain a motion to adjourn. I see Councillor Braber for a mover and Councillor Franzen for a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. I forgot to mention today that if you notice, the council of the municipality of Trent Lakes is wearing orange shirts, and most of our staff are wearing the same. And we appreciate all of that in recognition of truth and reconciliation. Thank you to all.